everybody, it's Mrs. E here to read you more of The Twits by Roald Dahl. And last time we left off, we found out how Mr. Twit caught the birds to make Mrs. Twit's bird pie. And so this chapter is called 4 Sticky Little Boys. Uh-oh, let's see what happens. On one Tuesday evening after Mr. Twit had been up the ladder and smeared the tree with Hugtite, 4 little boys crept into the garden to look at the monkeys. They didn't care about the thistles and stinging nettles, not when there were monkeys to look at. After a while, they got tired of looking at the monkeys, so they explored further into the garden and found the ladder leaning against the big dead tree. They decided to climb it just for fun. There's nothing wrong with that. The next morning, when Mr. Twit went out to collect the birds, he found 4 miserable little boys sitting in the tree, stuck as tight as they could be by the seats of their pants to the branches. There were no birds because the presence of the boys had scared them away. Uh-oh. Mr. Twit was furious. "As there are no birds for my pie tonight," he shouted, "then it'll have to be boys instead." He started to climb the ladder. "Boy pie might be better than bird pie," he went on, grinning horribly. "More meat and not so many tiny little bones." The boys were terrified. "He's going to boil us," cried one of them. "He'll stew us alive," wailed the second one. "He'll cook us with carrots," cried the third. But the 4th little boy, who had more sense than the others, whispered, "Listen, I just had an idea. We're only stuck by the seats of our pants. So, what do you think they're going to try to do to get out of their mess?" "Quick! Unbutton your pants and slip out of them and fall to the ground." Mr. Twit had reached the top of the ladder and was just about to make a grab for the nearest boy when they all suddenly tumbled out of the tree and ran home with their bottoms winking at the sun. Well, that was a clever plan. Our next chapter is called The Great Upside Down Monkey Circus. So we're going to learn about the monkeys that we talked about earlier. Now for the monkeys. The 4 monkeys in the cage in the garden were all one family. They were Mugglewump and his wife and their 2 small children. But what on earth were Mr. and Mrs. Twit doing with monkeys in their garden? Well, in the old days, they had both worked in a circus as monkey trainers. They used to teach monkeys to do tricks and to dress up in human clothes and to smoke pipes and all the rest of that nonsense. Today, although they were retired, Mr. Twit still wanted to train monkeys. It was his dream that one day he would own the first great upside-down monkey circus in the world. That meant that the monkeys had to do everything upside down. They had to dance upside down on their hands with their feet in the air, just like this picture here. They had to play football upside down. They had to balance on top of the other upside down with Mugglewump at the bottom and the smallest baby monkey at the very top. They even had to eat and drink upside down, and that is not an easy thing to do because the food and water has to go up your throat instead of down. In fact, it is almost impossible, but the monkeys simply had to do it, otherwise they'd get nothing. All this sounds pretty silly to you and me. It sounded pretty silly to the monkeys, too. They absolutely hated having to do this upside-down nonsense day after day. It made them giddy, standing on their heads for hours on end. Sometimes the 2 small monkeys' children would faint with so much blood going to their heads. But Mr. Twit didn't care about that. He kept them practicing for 6 hours every day, and if they didn't do so, what they were told, Mrs. Twit would soon come running with her beastly stick. It's not very nice, is it? Poor monkeys. Our last chapter for today is called The RolyPoly Bird to the Rescue. What a funny name for a bird. Mugglewump and his family longed to escape from the cage in Mr. Twit's garden and go back to the African jungle where they came from. They hated Mr. and Mrs. Twit for making their lives so miserable. They also hated them for what they did to the birds every Tuesday and Wednesday. "Fly away, birds," they used to shout, jumping up in the cage and waving their arms. "Don't sit on that big dead tree. It's just been smeared all over with sticky glue. Go sit somewhere else." But these were English birds, and they couldn't understand their African language monkeys how they spoke. So they took no notice and went on using the big dead tree and getting caught from Mrs. Twits' bird pie. Well, that was nice of them to warn the birds, but it didn't work. Then one day a truly magnificent bird flew down out of the sky and landed on the monkey cage. "Good heavens!" cried all the monkeys together. "It's the Roly-Poly Bird! What on earth are you doing over here in England, Roly-Poly Bird?" Like the monkeys, the Roly-Poly Bird came from Africa, and he spoke the same language as they did. Look at this fun bird. The Roly-Poly Bird. "I've come for a holiday," said the Roly-Poly Bird. "I like to travel." He fluffed his marvelous colored feathers and looked down rather grandly at the monkeys. "For most people," he went on, "flying away on holiday is very expensive. But I can fly anywhere in the world for nothing." "Do you know how to talk to these English birds?" Mugglewump asked him. "Of course I do," said the Roly-Poly Bird. "It's no good going to a country and not knowing the language." "Then we must hurry," said Mugglewump. "Today is Tuesday, and over there you can already see the sticky glue on all the branches of the big dead tree. This evening, when the birds come in to roost, you must warn them not to perch on that tree, or they will be made into bird pie." That evening the Roly-Poly Bird flew around and around the big dead tree, singing out, "There's sticky stuff all over the tree. If you land in the branches, you'll never get free. So fly away, stay up high, or you'll finish up tomorrow in hot bird pie." What a funny song. And that's where we're going to end for today. Our next chapter that we're going to read is called No Bird Pie for Mr. Twit. So I wonder if the Mugglewump family's plan to save all the birds ended up working. Alright, for your writing extension today, you can write about those funny monkeys. Mugglewump and his family did not like the Twits, and they want to go home to Africa. So I want you to think of a clever plan for them to escape the Twits' home to get back to their home in Africa. Don't forget to draw illustrations for your writing, and I hope you join me next time to see what happens to the Twits. See you guys later. Bye!